18th. Oh my goodness, the time is flying by so fast. It's quite incredible. Thank you for all of the people that were covered the ADP with Dr. Sam and Dr. Jason over the last couple weeks, because I was traveling. And as you guys watched my Instagram, last weekend was my last Hormone Connection seminar. And I want to thank all of you guys from around the world that have watched it. We have been doing it for about 6 years. And no joke, over 500,000 people have seen the seminar itself. And it was very emotional, letting something that I've been doing for 6 years have a season of life to where it is gone. And we ended with Dr. Devin. We had last Wednesday, we were in Raleigh, North Carolina with Dr. Blake and Allie. And then we were ended in Pensacola, Florida, which is a beautiful city. Thank you for all you guys that were so hospitable to me for coming down there and enjoying some time with you guys and just loving it up. And then to spend some time on the Pensacola beach, which was absolutely beautiful, nice sand beaches, and then be able to have a wonderful time with you guys that were at the seminar. What a way to end in a wonderful state of Florida. So thank you. It's a part of my life that I will never forget. And a lot of people say, well, Doc, so there's no more Hormone Connection seminars. Nope, they are officially done. I do have to speak some other places. I have to, like I said, next month I'll be over in Ireland speaking with Dr. Page over there, and then I have to do some other things. And I get asked to speak at certain events. But as far as me putting on the Hormone Connection seminars, it's actually doesn't exist anymore. So like I said, another great season of life as our company does great things all over the world. That being said, we're in studio today, and I'm so excited always as we add new amazing people to come join us. For you guys that may have, I always like to go live on Instagram before I start. We have Travis that now has joined us. He came from a wonderful place in media. But like I said, we like to recruit talent and great things to make our studio and our company better. So Travis, welcome for being here. We're excited that you are here. He's done great since he's been here for the first couple weeks. But it's nice having all these wonderful guys in the studio. We have some testosterone here like crazy. Speaking of testosterone, one of our amazing interns but future doc, and then no joke, a fellow Dr. Patrick. We're going to show him on camera right now. He's over there. You can see the top of his computers. Give him a wave there, Dr. Patrick. He's over by our computers over there. He's going to be running the question and answer, because a lot of you guys, we're now, Brandon, we're live on where? Facebook on the Wellness Way page.
Yeah, and
YouTube Wellness Way page.
And right now, I think our website right now is down.
Our website is down.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. That's okay. That's a cool thing. I guess our website's down, but we'll probably get it up going here pretty soon. And I was wondering why a bunch of people were texting me. I'm like going, there we go. That's okay. You know what I'm saying? That's the nice thing about technology. We roll with punches. We love it. Because the nice thing about all these, they're recorded and put up on the website later. But Patrick will be over there live on the Wellness Way YouTube page and Wellness Way Facebook page. So if you put comments in there, he's going to be answering right away. So if you do have questions as I'm going through the topic today, put them in there. He's going to respond. He's a future doc that's going to practice our approach when he graduates. But he's a very educated, trained young man that's going to be answering. We're going to continue to have more interns that are going to be doing it. So once again, another great thing we're adding. So to have somebody live with you guys all the time. So remember, if you do have a question, boom, put it in there. He'll do great. But speaking of that, and our website, as you can see from our slide here, the Wellness Way itself, there we go. You can watch the show on adp.thewellnessway.com as Brandon's getting that back up. Or you can actually go to thewellnessway.com and see all of the past shows and everything we do. That right there, our website gets record amounts of hits every single month. Once again, because of these amazing media people that work so hard to get this great information out there. But you always go there, man. It does everything. You see all of our wonderful practitioners, our clinics. I actually had somebody message me the other day, said, "Oh, Doc, I went on the website, I clicked find the clinic, and I can even find out about all the practitioners that are at the offices." Yes, you can actually read about them, see pictures of them. They're absolutely incredible. Go to thewellnessway.com to see all that. Now, one thing that is nice, as Brandon was just showing us to you, we do still have some media that we don't get kicked off of. We couldn't go live on my YouTube page because they're still restricting it, but we do have the Wellness Way one. We do have the Wellness Way Facebook page. We have the Wellness Way YouTube page. Actually, you have my YouTube page that doesn't let us go live right now, but we still watch a bunch of the videos on there. Instagram has gone absolutely crazy for some reason, and so has our TikTok. It's great because I kid you not, I probably have added 50,000 different followers over the last 3 or 4 days. just from the simple fact of people like us putting out our reels and our information. We do have short clips. We do have long clips. The show here on Saturday will always be more of a longer format because I really like to give the detail of actually teaching the things that everybody has. And so you need to do that on a more of a longer format because when we cover like our topic today, I don't want to make a statement and then people go, well, where's the evidence behind it? The show on Saturday is always based on the evidence behind it. Because I want people to have the references. I want people to have the ability to download the research articles that I publish here and actually give them to you so you now can actually look at it. But I want you to do it from a different perspective, which by nature, which is why I absolutely love this slide. It's absolutely incredible. I call it a slide because everything to me is in PowerPoint. It's all about perspective. If you look at the one on the right, you're going to see someone, if they flash the light from that way, it'd be a circle. Look at from on the left wall there, it's a square. And people will really sit there and argue about their point, which I'm cool about. You can have a perspective. Now, being, the wellness way, I've always looked back and said, it's a cylinder with a bunch of lights against the walls. You say, because I would tell people, I say, listen, you got the square people yelling, you got the circle people yelling. I kind of look at like that's the natural people and that's the medical people, and they're sitting there screaming at each other about their perspective, and I'm going, cool, I can see your perspective because I'm sitting back from, looking above going, yeah, it's a cylinder with a bunch of lights going on there. Now it's all about perspective, and that's really key to when we go over even breast cancer itself. Because we have been on our wonderful breast cancer series. It's been incredible. You can watch the past ones on our YouTube channel or even on our website. But the breast cancer series is really made for us to actually have an ability to have a different perspective on it itself. Because a lot of people say, well, doc, we just need more awareness of breast cancer. That's not really true. I think everybody's aware of breast cancer now. And if I said that, all the guys are shaking their head going, yep, I think everybody is aware of breast cancer now. So I think that breast cancer awareness is important. So I have no problem with pink ribbons. But what the objective of it going forward, I think, is absolutely useless because we have more awareness. We donate more money, pink ribbons. You even have the NFL and everybody in all sports teams wearing a pink ribbon. And guess what happens? We're aware. We get it. Okay. But that being said, if you look at the statistics, breast cancer every year still goes up. That means we need to have a different perspective on it, or people are going to continue to actually be in the state that they are, which is this more breast cancer. It might be your mom, might be your sister, might be your grandma, next person diagnosed. And what if I told you that there is a perspective that can mitigate and actually have a better aspect of what happens to people if they do it? But what if there is more of a preventative aspect that way? Well, that's what we're going to cover a lot. Now, that being said, I do love when people email us on a regular basis. Not an email question when it comes down to if you're under care of something, because if you want medical advice, if you're ever looking for medical advice, I always tell people, ask them. Now, I can almost tell you what they're going to tell you because I'm going to show you what happened today after an email. But if you do have an email that is asking about something, especially if you are not a patient of one of our doctors, I always like to make this very clear. If you're already a patient at one of our offices, go to that practitioner, sit down with them. They would love to go over your questions. It's important. But if you do not, you can email me directly at askdrpatrick@thewellnessway.com. Or just like Patrick over there right now, you can ask Patrick over there right now on the Facebook, on the thing, and actually just allow us to give them a chance to ask questions directly. And then we would respond one time or another. But if you email me at askdrpatrick@thewellnessway.com, we will go over your email. And as I'm going through this breast cancer series, I planned on talking about this topic, but all of a sudden I got this email, and here is the email that I want you to see. All right, here we go. Dr. Patrick, thank you for all the content you put out. I recently found you on Instagram and started watching your videos and loving your breast cancer series because I have it currently and going through treatments. Recently, I asked my doctor about foods I should and should not be eating, and he said it does not matter. So I asked him specifically about sugar, and he replied, sugar does not affect breast cancer. I recently read a lot about it, and can you let me know your thoughts on sugar effect, and would you suggest people to stay away from it? Sincerely, Missy H. Well, I have some thoughts. I do have some thoughts when it comes to stuff like this. I'm going to give some thoughts without commenting on the doctor's comments. And as I look at the email on my computer, it's I will say this: when I hear statements like that, it frustrates me. But why does it frustrate me? Because if you look at the data, I don't know where he's pulling the data from. Because once again, I believe that I can give you a convincing argument that guess what? I do believe it affects it. So let me set the standard. I do believe that sugar has an effect on breast cancer. It's my opinion, but here's what happens this. Let's see if I can give you evidence that would convince you on that. That's the big part I want to always talk to you guys about. Is there evidence that proves to what I'm saying? Or is it just, once again, I'm just randomly throwing out there and making some undocumented claim? Well, here's what happens. And remember, and here's the cool thing is this. It's all based on lifestyle thing. So it's not even about taking anything or doing anything. It's just going, okay, listen, his direct statement. Sugar does not affect breast cancer. All right, let's see what the data says. So I'm gonna pull up, and by data, I'm gonna pull up some PubMed articles that way. We're gonna go through them. We're gonna see the evidence of it. And then what I want to do is I want to talk about some of the things that affect it and why. And then I want to talk about the physiology behind it and the biochemistry behind it. And then some of the things that we can do to actually see that evidence change. So here we go. One of the major articles, here he is. Let's start here. Glucose metabolism and glucose transporters in breast cancer. Now, here we are. If we look at the article, let's start. Breast cancer is the most common malignancy in women worldwide and is associated with high mortality rates despite the continuously advanced treatment strategies. Okay, come back to me on this one. Let's just start right there. See, if you look at it this way, I love how the fact that they always talk about breast cancer, where in breast cancer we're having success. Okay, I got a simple question for you just based on data. Why do you think that we're so, why do you think that they put out there and go, you know, our survival rates and our things of breast cancer are wonderful, yet we see, if you actually read the data, we have a high mortality rate, and even though there's a ton of treatments out there. See, I'm sitting there going, I just even love that statement. People are not doing well considering the fact that we have significant amounts of advanced treatment strategies. That right away should sit there and go, okay, listen, what's going on? You know, why did they promote on TV and the internet and all the doctors and experts saying, we are doing so well for breast cancer? What do you mean? Do you know what you mean? That people live a little bit longer? That's not really true, statistically at all. Because once again, all they do is manipulate statistics. I know that never happens in the medical world. That was actually kind of being condescending. But okay, let's go back here. Glucose is essential for cancer cell metabolism owing to the Wahlberg effect. During the process of glucose metabolism, various glycolytic metabolites, such as serine and glycine metabolites, are produced, and other metabolic pathways, such as pentose pathway, PPP, are associated with the process. Glucose is transported into the cell by the glucose transporters, such as GLUT. Okay, come back here. If you look at it this way, there is receptors. There is receptors, just like, and let's talk about this. We all kind of know this, even if you don't know much about SARS-CoV-2 as far as how it enters into a cell. There's a receptor that binds to, and that's why you heard so much about the ACE2, ACE2 receptor. There has to be something that lets them in. Think of it like a key in a lock. The key fits in, guess what happens? Door opens up, and there you go. So therefore, there is receptors. There's the GLUT1 receptor as the main transport for glucose to allow actually to get onto the cell and draw it in. So therefore, if you look, what it talks about in this article itself is now the fact that we know there's a phenomenon that all of a sudden, guess what? There's certain pathways and metabolic pathways that they measure to say, listen, when glucose enters a cell, here is the metabolic, the metabolism, the growth, the conversions that do happen. And that's why when you continue to look at the article, they talk about that in great detail. So let's go on to the next slide. As you can see, here we are. One of the fundamental characteristics of cancer cells that differ from normal cells is the metabolic reprogramming. Produce energy through glycolysis rather than metabolic oxidative phosphorylation, which is known as the Wahlberg effect, after a German scientist, Otto Wahlberg, who first discovered it in the 1950s. So they actually understood how sugar has affected cancer cells even back in the 50s. So I kind of like going, okay, here we go. There should be some things knowing. Now, let's skip down a little farther on the article itself. These glucose metabolic pathways and glucose transporters have pivotal roles in cancer metabolism, as well as cancer progression and metastasis, aka growth. And such metabolic characteristics can be used in imaging diagnostics and targeting therapies. All right, there's one thing that people do not realize. Do you understand even when they're running a certain dye through to find certain cancers, they're sugar-based. They absorb it. Do you understand that now I'm gonna quote their statistic. A cancer cell will metabolize 10 times the sugar of a normal cell. So what they do is that when they run a dye through a system, they're looking for a sugar-based dye that actually goes into a cell and actually absorbs it. And now when they do imaging, it's very easy to see that. And what they've tried to do is they've tried to even use therapies where they put glucose on the therapy so the cancer cell absorbs it more than the regular cell. Now think about that. They're going to use glucose metabolism, glucose transporters, glucose receptors in order to what? Diagnose, look at cancer, use it for imaging, but also, what does it do? It creates metastasis, growth, spreading, cell proliferation that way. All right, let's look at another article here. Here we go. High glucose promotes breast cancer proliferation and metastasis by impairing angiotensin expression. Oh my goodness. Let's see what happens here. Let's read about it a little bit here. The coincidence of breast cancer and diabetes has been increasingly recognized clinically. Cumulative evidence has unraveled the intimate association between high blood glucose and a variety of human malignancies. All right, so there is some relationship to all cells that grow on a regular basis. So therefore, we know this. If you look at insulin itself, which is a hormone that's produced when blood sugar gets a little elevated, it's a growth hormone. It's a growth hormone. That's why if you notice, you're going to see in some of the upcoming data that way, that if you have a cell that's growing and aging and metastasizing in proliferation, which means, for example, multiplying, is insulin, blood sugar has a relation to it. So therefore, breast cancer itself can actually have a major effect on there. So Brandon, we back.
We're back on website.
All right.
I do a little coding.
For you guys, actually, we had a little problem. It's one thing about internet and data that way. We are now back on adp.thewellnessway.com. So yes, for you guys. But we've still been live on our pages that way. So great job, media team. It's quite amazing how some of these things happen so quickly. You guys do an amazing job. All right, back to the thing here. All right, here we are set out to clarify the potential influence of high glucose concentrations on tumor biology of breast cancer in vitro, an attempt to elicit the underlying mechanism. Our data clearly demonstrates that high glucose promoted cell proliferation, viability, and anchored independent growth. Right there. That's all you need to do. Right there. They even show that high glucose concentration. Now, once again, there's other research areas like the first one I showed you on how it works. There's glucose metabolism, there's proliferation, there's growth, there's how it transports is actually coming on the GLUT1 and other receptors, but mainly GLUT1 receptor. And that's really important when you come up to some of the things that we need to do. But look at, in addition, cell migration and invasion capacity were significantly enhanced in high glucose medium in comparison with normal culture medium, which indicates that high glucose contributed to the metastatic behavior of breast cancer as well. My goodness. My goodness. I just have to say this. I have to take a little commercial break because I am always impressed by the amazing professionals we have. But Travis, you're knocking out of the park going back and forth. He's even got it. First time doing it. Man, we have great people that work here, making it look so good. Thanks, Travis. Keep doing a great job. But I just look up. We trained out this morning, rehearsed, and it's like, boom, this guy. That's how he's a professional. It's awesome. So anyways, commercial break. I have to give credit where credit is due with amazing people and stuff. So, but that being said, I lost my point, so let's redo it again. Our data has clearly demonstrated high glucose cells promote cell proliferation, viability, and anchorage independent growth. In addition, cell migration and invasion capacity were significantly enhanced in the high glucose medium in comparison with normal culture medium, which indicated the high glucose contributed to the metastatic behavior of breast cancer as well. Wow, that statement right there should just dictate if you do have breast cancer. I got a question for you. What should be your glucose consumption? It should be very minimal. It should be very minimal. And I'm just pulling out the discussions, and it's kind of cool. Like I always share with you guys, I probably read anywhere from 10 to 15, articles based on immunology, biochemistry, hormones every single day. And that's why when I pull this stuff out to you for the data, which this will be in the links below, and it'll allow you to read the whole article. And I pull up the major points in there that you can highlight yourself, but I encourage you to go back and read everything. I love when people want to fact check and they go read that and they send me a message, Doc. It was quite evident when you see things like this that breast cancer, one of the main recommendations that oncologists and every doctor should give is actually to reduce glucose levels. And there's so many measurable aspects from labs to see how your blood glucose, how your long-term glucose, how you're metabolizing sugar, should be measured on a regular basis, especially if you have any form of cancer. And that's what they talk about too. And so I get very saddened. I get very frustrated when the doctor that may be helping Missy from that email, and I'm not saying she doesn't need chemotherapy. I'm not saying she doesn't need radiation. That's a medical discussion you can have with your doctors and your family. I'm not going to give you advice on that ever. But the idea is this. But even if they're going through that form of treatment, could you guys give me, Patrick, let's see if people get some comments in the thing below. Don't you think that you'd agree with me that the oncologist or any doctor is taking care of you if you're going through any cancer, but especially breast cancer, just because we're focused on it? Would you agree with me that you should reduce, if not eliminate, your glucose consumption? Now, if you believe yes, put it in the comments below, or put it so we can do, because sorry. So someone comes in here, even if they're going through breast cancer treatments medically, and they ask us to enhance their immune response and their biochemistry and get their hormones back to normal. I'm going to give them significant advice and very stern advice. Here's one things not to eat, and here's what things you should eat. So that when that person when Missy got the information from her doctor that said, doesn't really matter what you eat, but sugar specifically does not affect breast cancer, I'm sorry. I don't know where he's pulling data. I'd rather have him say, Missy, I have no clue. You may need to find a Wellness Way practitioner to give you the advice on what to do, because those guys are geniuses, all right? Now, obviously, I have a little fun with it because I get frustrated. I literally sometimes use humor so much because I downright get angry as can be. When I read that email, I'm like, you guys don't know what I really want to say. All right, so I gotta create some humor in it, because otherwise it can downright be frustrating and saddened, because at least Missy saw us on Instagram. Something caught her attention and she dug a little deeper. That's not the majority of people. So once again, if you guys are on the Wellness Way page right now on Facebook, can you do me a favor? Hit that like button and share it right now. Share it right now. Because just like Missy that saw on Instagram, she actually wouldn't have known if she wouldn't have just caught the attention from somebody seeing it. So do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that share button, because it could make the difference between maybe some woman with breast cancer is watching us right now. And if all she does, if she's going through medical treatments, chemotherapy, radiation, and reduces her sugars, she's gonna have less chance of proliferation, less chance of metastatic changes happening. So her outcome, even through her medical treatment, will just be better. All right, let's go on. Let's see if we got more convincing evidence here. Here we go. High glucose levels promote the proliferation of breast cancer cells through GTPase. All right, once again, what they're showing is this. They're showing the fact that, here we go, hyperglycemic or diabetes mellitus, which is characterized as high blood glucose levels, have been linked to increased risk of cancers for years. However, the underlying molecular mechanism of this pathophysiological link are not yet fully understood. In the study, we demonstrated that high glucose levels promote the proliferation of breast cancer cells by stimulating EGFR activation. All right? Now, so once you talk about this, I love how they first say this. High glucose levels have been linked to increased risk of cancer for years. So just in general. So I know we're focused on breast cancer because we're on breast cancer series. But if any of your family members or you currently do have cancer, eliminate it. It's that simple. It really is. Eliminate it. Now, I know people go through major withdrawals when they reduce sugar because it tastes great. It really does. Sugar is amazing. But what if I told you coming up here soon, I'm going to show you some ways that even if you consume sugar, which I want you to reduce dramatically, there's ways that we can inhibit its absorption. There's ways that we can make sure that we have less of a craving. There's ways that we can actually do things to actually drop your blood glucose levels and actually even change your cholesterol levels in the process. All right, another great research article. I'm just going to put it up again because I want to show you that there's so much data to prove what that doctor told Missy is wrong. Impact of diabetes on promoting growth of breast cancer. And once again, all these journals on a regular basis, and the reason why I pulled up that one is because it came from Cancer Communications Journal. It was published in May of 2021. Now, once again, there's consistent amount of articles that give us data to show that. But there's one thing that I'd really like to show you is the fact that this next article, because I do like this one a lot, and we talk about it right here, okay? Diet and breast cancer, the possible connection with sugar consumption. As we look at it, let's read it. The paper presents an epidemiological study of breast cancer mortality in relation to food consumption. It was found that younger and older women differ with respect to such correlations. In older women, a strong correlation was found between breast cancer mortality and sugar consumption. and a weaker correlation possible of a marginal interest with fat consumption. In younger women, the correlation of diet seems weak. A possible connecting link between sugar consumption and breast cancer is insulin. This is an absolute requirement for the proliferation of normal mammillary tissue, and experimental mammillary tumors may regress in its absence. Insulin secretion occurs in response to blood sugar levels and can be excessive in the regulatory mechanism is overtaxed by large sugar intake. The same mechanism might account for the increased risk of mammary cancers in diabetics. So, that being said, I want you to think about this. They even talked about it. Insulin is a growth hormone. Now, we know that insulin is actually needed for this. So, as I talk about this and we talk about the opinions needed on here that we're going to look at, once again, I'm going to talk about my opinion when it comes to this, but you got to understand that staying away from sugar is going to do a wonderful job of creating the mechanisms for us to do it. So, as you saw, it popped up before. Well, what is my opinion? My opinion is very strong. We need to reduce our glucose intake when it does come to breast cancer. I can say in general, if you want to look at the growth and maturation of any cell, we should do that. Because let me give you an example. If you look at aging itself, so let's take the skin cells that we had this morning. Do you know that the regenerative aspect takes a certain time? So let's say the time is 24 hours. When you increase your blood sugar, that growth hormone increases the growth of all cells, which means now, let's say now it went to 22 hours. So therefore your skin cells replicated in 22 hours. Number one, you're not going to have as good as mature a cell, but on top of it, you're going to cause them to die quicker. What does that mean? We have a certain age limit that we're all going to die at. You understand? Unless Jesus comes back tomorrow, we all are going to die, all right? Now here's the point, is how aging really is taken in place is the fact that we have a cell, it replicates, splits, and there's another cell. I want you to imagine we have a very large copy machine downstairs. That is incredible. It's one of the best out there. It looks like a little spaceship. All right, now, if I put on a paper on there and make a copy, do you understand, even though it's one of the best quality ones out there, the copy just isn't the same. It's just a little less, and a little less, and a little less. And next thing you know, if you made one copy, take the copy, took one copy, that's aging. That's aging. That's why sugar will increase the aging process in general, because you get growth that comes faster, and now guess what? There's your copy, it's produced. So that's why when women say, Doc, how can we slow aging? It's not really slowing aging, it's allowing a cell to mature and grow at the rate that's supposed to and proliferate at the response it's supposed to. And by increasing your sugar intake, you increase your insulin levels, which now increases your aging. So ladies, just from a cosmetic standpoint, and if there's one way to get women to do things is their skin and aging and looks and wrinkles, reduce your sugar. So not even the aspect of and it affects men the same way. And it's why you see today that 1 out of every 100 men, 1 out of every 100 diagnosed for breast cancer are what? Men, all right? And what does that do? That sets us up for proliferation of breast tissue. Now, obviously, men have a lot less reduction in production of breast tissue. Ladies, you can see as mammillary cancer happens in diabetics, it's much more common than in non-diabetics because of the growth. So as we saw that way, when we looked at my opinion, we need to just reduce our glucose intake for both men and women, but also if you have any form of cancer. Okay. Now, one thing that I want to cover today is a way to somehow reduce our sugar intake as we do from some basic consumption. But what if I told you there's things that you can take? So today, I'm going to show you one of my favorite herbs that can actually help in the process of not only reduction of sugar within our bloodstream, but also it even being the reduction of absorption, which now can also affect cholesterol levels, and it can affect a lot of the things when it comes to diabetics. And it's actually known, as well documented in the research to show these effects happening. And here is the herb itself. It's called Gymnema. I absolutely love this herb. Now let's look at some of the qualities that it does have. If you look, the name Gymnema, and part of it is called the destroyer of sugar. It stimulates the release of insulin. That is a major aspect for people who actually have an ability to do what? To regulate their blood sugars so they don't have high glucose. It blocks the absorption of glucose. We're going to talk about that in great detail. And by doing that, it reduces the sweet taste of sugar. It also promotes the regeneration of the islet cells of the pancreas, mainly, once again, the beta cells. So we're going to talk about that. Now, the great thing is you say, Doc, well, how does it work? Well, if you ever look at any herb or anything that we eat, there's certain constituents, or let's even from the standpoint of my example of us being carpenter type practitioners, there's certain lumber, there's certain things that we need to build a house and do certain things that allow us to actually put into our body and have a very positive effect we're trying to accomplish. Now, how does Gymnema work? Well, it has certain building blocks in there, like gymnemic acid and other constituents that work to actually affect our body to where we can actually have results to stop the absorption of sugar. Now, does it stop it completely? No, but there's a massive reduction on the receptors that allow us to do what? Allow us to actually grab onto them. So now when glucose is actually needed, it blocks it, and now it can't get into a cell, but also can block taste buds in our receptors so we don't taste it that way. So if we look here, I want to show you a great graphic. And if you look, let's just take an example. You see that little green thing, that's a receptor. You see the cell membrane. So let's say, for example, that's just into a cell. Let's say it's into any kind of cell. It could be a cancer cell, could be just actually our tongue, could be anything. There's little receptors. And as you can see, down below, that you'll see that little yellow glucose molecule will come up above on the receptor. It'll attach, and you see the dashed line, it will come down, and it'll pass into a cell. Now the cell will use that glucose for what it needs to do, and then great, that's how it works. Over to the next slide, you see receptor. You can see the gymnemic acid come along, it grabs onto that receptor, and it blocks it. It literally blocks it, so now the glucose is unable to pass through, so therefore, guess what? Even though that there is blood sugar in your bloodstream, or in your GI tract, or on your tongue, the receptor is blocked by the gymnemic acid, so therefore, the functions of what it's supposed to do now is inhibited. That being said, I want you to think about this. That means you say, Doc, well, wait, if those constituents can grab onto the receptors in the taste buds within the mouth, that's going to leave it to where all of a sudden, if you eat something sweet, you're not going to taste it. Well, what I decided to do for this video is show you some things that can happen in real life. So what we did, we took in our wonderful kitchen here at our corporate office and took some Gymnema. We had some people consume it, and then we had them eat a sweet after. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you the video that we did to see the effects and the direct effects happens within seconds after consuming Gymnema. So watch this video. Hey everybody, today we're gonna do a pretty awesome experiment. Is when you take Gymnema, as I've been teaching in the video so far, the gymnemic acid and the other constituents in there are going to grab onto the taste buds, they're gonna grab onto the receptors. So once you take that and it goes into your mouth and goes in your small intestine, the amount of sugar is just gonna basically pass right through. So they're not gonna really taste that much and they're not gonna absorb it, and that's why blood sugar drops down. So what we're gonna do now is we're bringing in our first person and we're gonna take it and we're gonna see what she tastes after taking it and then adding the wonderful chocolate that has good organic sugar in it. So here we go. So let's take our first shot. Now take a little piece of the chocolate and chew it and just tell everybody what it tastes, because you've eaten it before. What does it taste like?
Nothing.
Yeah. You notice that there's more of a texture than you actually have a sweetness that's there. So that's what the gymnemic acid does. It actually grabs the taste buds, and then guess what happens? Now it just passes through. So you're not going to absorb it when it comes in your system. Now, coming to the other people that are going to do it. So let's go over here and let's actually do 3 shots. So each one of you guys. All right, go for it. Then each get a piece of chocolate. And then we're just going to go down, and I want each one of you guys to tell them what you taste. So they've all experienced the chocolate before. They had this wonderful organic healthy sweet. We do it the Wellness Way. We encourage that. But even the good organic sugar, once again, is not going to go into the taste buds. And so what'd you taste?
Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, it really does. What about you, Betsy?
Very slight.
Yep, very slight. Yep.
You just have the texture.
Yes.
Yeah.
And see, that's what happens. Now remember, so when people say, Doc, does it crave your sugar cravings? Well, what it does, if you eat it, and even though it's a good, healthy, organic sweet, and you don't have that sweetness, you have less temptation to do it. You know what I'm saying? Now, does it get rid of all the sweet from all the sweeteners? No, it doesn't. So sometimes you'll have a little bit of sweet, but if it's massively reduced, guess what happens? People are less apt to eat it. So that's our good experiment today. You can do it with just the good old Gymnema. And once again, have a great form that allows it to grab onto the receptors. And then what it does also, as you notice, when it goes in your small intestine and grabs on those receptors, it won't absorb into our bloodstream. So that's why, once again, it becomes more of a hypoglycemic aspect for people to actually lower the blood sugar, which does help diabetics and actually weight loss and other tools that go there. So thank you, ladies, for joining us in the experiment today. All right, thanks so much, Cassie, Aaron, Betsy, and Corey for being our example. As you saw their faces, when you take a great Gymnema herb like that, it doesn't taste good. They really don't. I want you, people always say, well, Doc, why don't you make those things taste better? Because I won't put anything bad in there. I won't put any fillers. I won't put any things that aren't great for the body. But as you can see, the minute that touched their tongue, the constituents within there, and that's the key thing about when you have things that are nutritionally based that way, like an herb, they will actually have constituents that are very reactive to the body within seconds, because that touches the taste buds of the tongue, grabs that receptor, and now guess what? It passes through. Well, it's very important for multiple things, because as you can see, it really does a good job of actually doing not only the fact that it can reduce the taste buds and actually reduce some of the sugar cravings, but imagine those receptors as it goes through the rest of the body, rest of the GI tract. It grabs on those receptors, so now it doesn't absorb into the bloodstream. So by taking Gymnema, you're going to have a reduced aspect of blood sugar. You're gonna have a reduced aspect of even cholesterol levels going to, you're gonna have, ladies, it's quite important, by taking this, that's why it's known as actually a weight loss tool, because you're gonna have less sugar absorption, so therefore you're gonna see a reduction of blood sugar, it's gonna be a reduction of adipose tissue, so forth. There's so many properties there. But you said, Doc, but there's one thing that I noticed when you talked about insulin. You talked about insulin as a growth hormone, but you know that it can stimulate insulin. Well, I wanted to actually pull some research to talk about that for a second, so let me show you the research here. Gymnema stimulates insulin release in vitro by increasing membrane permeability. If you notice, when you look at the article itself, what it does, it has a therapeutic potential when it talks about treatment of non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. Now, if you look at the article itself, and what I wanted to kind of show you is this, the effects of it, it actually talks about insulin release, all right? So that what it does is when a person actually, it can be fatigued out. So let's say, this is very, very common on blood work. A lot of times you'll see low insulin on blood work because the pancreas is just tired. It's exhausted. See, therefore, it's like if you continue to run on a treadmill for a day, your body's gonna run out. It just runs out of fuel. So when you look at taking Gymnema, what it does, it gives the constituents for the pancreas to rebuild beta cells. I want you to think about this. It's regenerative. And all the research, it talks about being regenerative to the pancreas. See, that's the coolest thing about certain herbs. They're building blocks. They have constituents that affect different tissues, but there's some that are regenerative. So therefore you say, well, Doc, you're telling me that by taking Gymnema, that they see some regeneration of cells? Yes, that's very important when it comes to things like type 1 diabetes, because there is a destruction of the pancreas, and what if we could do things to help regenerate those things? That's why you can have some success with that. Now, that's why Gymnema is one of my favorite things to do, because blood sugar, obesity, the epidemic is at all-time high. We see a lot of things going on right now that people that need insulin, there's gonna be a shortage. I have very good friends in the pharmaceutical world, and even pharmacies itself. I have a very good friend, Dan, who's in a pharmacist, and he's like, Doc, I'm very concerned about the people that need insulin even for type 1 diabetes in the future, because it takes a lot to produce it, but we have some shortages. Well, I tell people, don't look at Gymnema as a replacement. Look at Gymnema on helping to reduce the absorption, reduce the cravings, reduce the amount of glucose getting into our system. Yes, you say, well, Doc, we can just consume a lot less. It's true, but we all are emotional eaters. We all are. I am, everybody is, because why? Food brings great emotion. And actually, sorry, an organic salad and something really sweet, guess what happens? There's different emotions when it comes to that stuff. So we're all emotional eaters. I get it. Remember, I might be a practitioner trying to keep people away from glucose, but last night, guess what? I was sitting around watching a movie with my daughters, and I'm like, I want something sweet. You saying? I didn't sit around in my movie theater and go, I want an organic salad. No, I wanted some chocolate and I wanted some sweet in there. Now granted, I'm gonna eat all organic stuff. I'm gonna eat the best possibility you can, but even like you saw with the good organic coconut treat that I gave during the video, There's still good organic sugar in there, but that can still raise your blood glucose, which can still cause a bunch of problems. That's why it has to be, the reduced absorption. That's why, once again, I've taken Gymnema forever. Why? Because I want people to keep their absorption of the glucose down, even if they have some glucose. So we're gonna work together on you reducing your glucose, then taking some Gymnema so we can reduce the absorption. And hopefully if you take it close enough to sweet, maybe you'll reduce your sweet cravings, because it's just like you saw, like Cassie and the other lady said, there's more of a texture. People don't eat for texture, they eat for emotions, including myself. So if you look at the properties of Gymnema, they're significant. Anti-diabetic, anti-inflammatory, anti-hypercholesteremia, reduces sugar craving, promotes weight loss, it combats insulin resistance. All of those terms were taken from direct research on Gymnema itself. It is a wonderful herb that can do major things to our healthcare system if it's consumed on the right appropriate times in the appropriate amounts. So see your practitioner to actually guide you on what to do. Now, that being said, wonderful things when you look at the evidence of breast cancer and how it's affected by glucose, how it's affected by sugar consumption, and what we can do. This puts you guys in control. That's the one thing that I love about it. Everything we do on a different perspective on this show is to give you the empowerment back. I like monitoring things as a practitioner with labs and different things, a direction that way. But what it does, and this is the part about the show, it guides you and gives you the ability to say, listen, I can make these choices. Doc, I can reduce my sugar intake. And now if I'm actually emotional about foods, maybe if I have some Gymnema, it's gonna do a wonderful job of keeping me away from it. I tell people, I think Gymnema sales should always go up around the holidays. You know why? We all eat too much and eat too many sweets, regardless if they're organics or not. I say around Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, man, this should be consumed on a regular basis when it comes to an herb, because you know why? Because you're gonna do it even if you eat healthy. Raise your hand in December, even if you eat fantastic, by nature you eat too many sweets. I will eat an organic cookie, I'll eat an organic dessert, even if they have xylitol, even if they have some organic cane sugar, things like that. Well, I want to reduce the absorption of the cane sugar so I have less glucose going through my system, so we don't gain weight and do other things that way. It's a very important thing. Now, so everything that we give to you is about your health on this show. So our next thing that we're gonna move into is our mother's moment. Now I have to warn you, if there's young kids watching, don't let them watch. Now people say the segment that I'm gonna bring up from Mother's Moment, it's based a lot on mental health. Mental health. And ladies, you know, if you've been to the Hormone Connection Seminar, mental health to me is so vital for your long-term health. So therefore, an episode that we just had to add on there, because we've seen this, I've seen this clinically, when kids are exposed to things that are mentally disturbing, it can make them sick even at a young age. So what we're gonna do now is move into a segment in our Mother's Moment. So let's see what we have to bring to you this week with Jamie Barkey. Now back to one of my favorite moments that we love to do, our Mother's Moment with, I was gonna say Dr. Jamie Barkey. Well, we can call her honorary doctor, it's kind of nice. So nice to see you.
You too.
Always nice to see you. It's kind of nice because I get to work with Jamie on a regular basis here at the corporate office. But the reason why I always like bringing them Mother's Moment is because these are concerns that moms have that I think that we all should know about. And so what's our topic for today, Jamie?
It's going to get pretty rough here for parents. I want to let you guys know, if you have kids watching this, please take them out of the room, as this is going to be graphic material that you would not want your child to be viewing. With that being said, the first thing that we're going to go through, and we're going to go through them a little quick because it is a compilation of what's happening in society right now. I'm going to show you a book. It's called My Body is Growing. And it is a guide for children ages 4 through 8th. Inside this book, now it is in public schools, it is in libraries, it is in Amazon. This book is all over. This book, if you will see on the second page, you have 2 people having sex. And this is in a 4-year-old's book, right? They talk about contraception. They talk about, and I'm not even gonna read because like my stomach is turning on the next page of exactly it's graphic. What they're telling a child.
Yep.
A 4-year-old, could you imagine a 4-year-old getting a hold of this book at a public library and reading it and seeing such graphic material that their brain can't even comprehend at this moment. So I wanted to bring you guys aware of this book that is out there, because a lot of books, guys, right now, they look very innocent from the outside.
But inside.
But inside, it is absolutely
Disturbing.
horrific, because they're talking about condoms and birth control, all these different type of things. So I just wanted to warn you. Now that is small game to what is actually happening out there in front of kids' faces, day in and day out for the whole entire month of June.
Yep.
There was Drag the Kids to Pride event at a bar
Right.
during daytime. And we're going to show you a little video, and then we're going to talk about it.
Everybody come back here with me. You pick who you want to walk the runway with. Let's go. Noel.
Strike the pose.
Strike the pose. Yeah.
I like, as
Yeah.
a parent, what is happening? Where are the parents? The parents are the ones dragging them to this event.
Yep.
Have we abandoned the idea of protecting the innocence of our children? Adult entertainment is being normalized to kids.
And the health consequences, the mental health consequences are dramatic. So when we look at why this needs to be brought to parents on our platform, is because this leads to psychological health. And if you understand anything the Wellness Way stands for, is if there's anything disruptive, especially in young girls, especially in even adult women, psychological health is so imperative to their physical health, their hormonal health, and everything. So this stuff starts at a young age, and it's very scary. I mean, if you notice, I couldn't watch it. I had to turn my head because I have 4 girls.
And the thing is you guys, if you've seen the full video, these kids are putting dollar bills into these men's G-strings. There's drag events at people's houses, like they're doing kids parties now, where they're wearing lingerie and the parents are having them put dollar bills in their underwear.
Yep.
We're normalizing sexual behavior with our children at this point. And I want to just have you guys understand, when in the world has it been okay to have sex on streets for 1 full month?
Right.
That kids are being seen this stuff day in and day out. Guys, let the kids be kids.
We were talking about that before.
They can't
Kids-
carry this weight.
They're not meant to. They're not meant to at
No.
all. It's even worse. We're talking about kids. It's not even good for adults.
No.
You know what I'm saying? That's the point. It's like that's the part. What it can do to adults, what it can do to relationships, what it can do to people that way, and then exposing it to kids that really should be just doing kid stuff.
Yes. So I wanted to bring that to your attention, that these aren't just innocent little events. On the back of the screen, you guys seen it, a sign says it's not going to lick itself.
Right.
What are we showing the kids? Now this leads into what the Biden administration is putting out there. The new Biden administration rule will tie federal education funding to LGBT mandates. This means that schools around the country will be forced to comply with a range of pro-transgender policies in things like sports, housing, locker rooms, and bathrooms if they want to continue receiving federal funds. So, what that means is there was an executive order signed by the president that he will withhold funds from schools unless and let's call it what it is. It's an agenda being pushed onto the kids. They're being pumped full of, are you a boy, are you a girl? Maybe you should this. And then they have these books in the school. How is this not political?
Right.
So you're going to withhold federal funding to not, like, so let's just say, now let's just kind of think beyond this. You're in a poverty-ridden town, city, and you have your kids sent to school and they need lunch and their parents can't provide it. So the state provides funding so they can eat.
Which is a good thing. Which is a very good thing.
A very good thing. Some children are only eating at school.
Yeah.
So if that parent's like, no, I don't want you confusing my child. I want you teaching the basics of school, like the math, writing,
Yep.
right,
Reading,
cursive
everything.
writing,
Yep.
like bring that back so we can read the Constitution.
Yep.
Things like that. I don't want them learning this. And then Biden's like, well, you don't get federal funding, your kid can't eat. How? That's
Right.
so political at this point. They can't look at us and be like, well, don't make this all political when it's very politicized.
Right.
Now, here's the thing is on the next screen, I have, it talks about not using the preferred pronoun of an individual could also land schools and universities in legal trouble under the Title IX changes. So because it's the discrimination. They're trying to throw this under, well, you're discriminating if you don't allow a boy into a girl's locker room. It's discriminating if you don't allow the boy or the girl into vice versa into sports. It's discrimination. Now, let me ask a question. What about the Christian staff and
Yep.
students? So they have to give up their beliefs. They have to abandon their beliefs to go along with this. How is that not discrimination towards the Christian community? Like, you understand that we're now pinning each other against one another. Let's get back to what schools should be.
Basic
and not
education.
These playgrounds of these social justice warriors, guys. So I wanted, and that because something happened here in the state of Wisconsin, and
Yep.
it got a lot of parents upset at the Kiel Middle School. There was 3 teenagers that the school was going after because they were accusing them of sexual harassment for using incorrect pronouns when addressing another student. Now, I want to just pump the brakes because I am a
Yeah.
person that sees so many different things out there. Did you
Yes.
guys understand that kids can now be cats and dogs in school and they can bark for answers and
I
yell for
saw one
answers?
the other day. I'm not joking. I saw one the other day. And I know it's probably get me some criticism. I just made fun of it. I'm like, I just kind of made fun of it. I was like going, okay, that's dumb. Do you say him? And it's like, yeah.
But they can't. Here's the thing is now teachers, like I've seen some interviews with teachers and they're like, our hands are tied. If they want to identify as a cat, we have to put litter boxes now in the bathrooms. Like, what in the world?
Yeah.
And we have to call them a cat or a dog. If we give them the test and they identify as a cat and they can't read English, they don't have to take the test and they can pass.
I just
Like,
can't not
where-
laugh. I'm like, I saw it. Trust me, I literally saw it the other day, and I'm like going, and then people say, well, you're being mean by making fun of them. There's some stuff you have to make fun of. You really do, because shaming does work when it's that dumb. Do you see it?
How are you not disrupting the other kids that are like,
Well, I actually
Come
when
to learn.
when my girls with me, I'm like, that's stupid. Then I'm like, I'm not gonna let my girls know that that's okay.
Yeah.
You say, I'm like going, no, you can, and you at an 8 or 12 or a 15-year-old could say, it's dumb. Do you say,
but how is that not a mental health issue?
It is mental health. It's a mental parent health issue to allow a child to go there, but that's a whole nother topic. Yep.
So I just wanted to bring that up because in the state of Wisconsin that was happening.
it did.
They did push that aside and they're no longer going
But first
after
of all,
the students.
congratulations for the students that actually stood up. Because remember,
Oh, yeah.
we've always talked about this from pandemic standpoint, for all this stuff. Like, when good people do nothing, evil and stupidity like this prevails. Some of the stuff that we bring is like, yeah, but we're concerned about the mental health of people that's up. And so I said it's really exciting to always bring stuff to it. But sometimes the stuff bringing to it, it's really detrimental. It's hard because, believe it or not, before I couldn't even look at it because I saw that stuff before, as I constantly read about all things going on that way. And I'm like, it's just hard for me to look at those things. But the nice thing is we got to bring them to you because we want the mental health of each of our children and each of our adults to do really well. And we believe that this is going to be something detrimental to the mental health of not only kids, but also individuals that even participate in this. So that being said, Jamie, always great Mother's Moment. We'll see you at the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, for bringing us such information. I want to say great information because she's trying to bring in attention to what's going to affect children's mental health later in life. And that's what we're always trying to do. We're trying to bring great things to people and give them a different perspective on it. Because our goal of anything as a Wellness Way practitioner, as a Wellness Way company, is to actually make you live a very healthy, loving, appreciative, amazing life. And some things can be downright disruptive and destructive to your mental state, physical state. And so we're always going to bring those to people to guide them to the best way. So that's why it's called the wellness way, because everybody wants wellness, everyone wants health. It's quite interesting. I travel around the world and I get to ask a simple question to people is, what is health? You're going to find out that people don't really know what it is. I've talked to our team recently about almost creating a documentary on it, what is health? And you're going to find out that interview people, they do not know what it is. So that's why when I look at things and that can majorly disrupt it, and because I'll tell you right now, that's how we've had great clinical success, is getting people back healthy, so therefore their conditions and all the things that they suffer with will dissipate. Remember, the opposite of health is sickness. The opposite of sickness is health. So you either get to choose one or the other. So therefore, doing things that are extremely healthy to restore that is essential. Now, in being able to put all this information out for so long, people say to me, Doc, you say this all the time. You haven't said much different in 23 years. There's a lot of truth to that. There really is, because the principles of health, how to attain it, what you need to do for it, are universal. You know, your body is always trying to heal. This concept that your body is programmed for disease and sickness and illness and frustration and depression and stuff like that is downright ludicrous. You're not genetically programmed for depression. You are not genetically programmed for depression. Once again, it's a state of being unhealthy. So I think that as we move forward, I want to kind of maybe do a documentary that way to show that the concept and the people and the universities and the teachers out there are not leading people the right way. I've always said, if you got breast cancer, I literally got interviewed on a podcast yesterday, and the guy that was interviewing me had thyroid cancer. And I said to him, I said, were you seeing doctors on a regular basis before you got thyroid cancer? And he's like, yep. I said, well, why don't you hold him accountable for it? And he goes, I never thought about that. Travis was here doing an interview, remember that? You run the studio. And he was like, see, that's the perspective. You're going to all these professionals and they're telling you they're the experts and they know what you should do and they should take, and here's the shots you should take, and here's the medications you can take, and all of a sudden you end up with some major illness, and they're like, then you run back to the people that led you there. I don't get that. You say, I don't get it. Why would you run back to a person that led you into cancer? Because you're not genetically programmed for cancer. And even if you say there's a gene, you still have to trigger the gene. There's an expression of it. You have to do the things. And as you can see right now, look at breast cancer. When that doctor said, no, sugar has no effect on it. Really? You will trigger that gene to proliferate, to metastasize from that. And putting out all this kind of information has led to some incredible, incredible opportunities. There was some time ago that, just some weeks ago, that all of a sudden I got a phone call. And I look and I'm like, oh, it's Dr. Wakefield. And I couldn't answer because it was in the middle of a meeting. And all of a sudden he sent me then an email real quick. He said, hey, Doc, give me a call back real quick. I need you for a movie. And I was extremely honored, got a phone conversation with him and found out that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Andrew Wakefield put out a great documentary called Infertility, A Diabolical Agenda. And what they did is they wanted me to be interviewed so they could use clips for the things that way. And so you get to see the whole interview. I want to thank CHD TV, as you can see from the slide here. If you go on Children Health Defense Network, it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s major website, and he's got a section called CHD TV, as you can see right here. And look at Good Morning CHDT, episode 52, Manipulation of the Immune System, plus the Pathway of Healing Infertility with Dr. Patrick Flynn. Michael Kane, who interviewed me, and we had the discussion on there. You can actually see the fact that we had a great discussion about not only the documentary, but also my perspective, which once again, you can watch the whole episode as I gave them a different perspective, and he's had an opportunity to interview many experts. I still gave him a perspective that he's never heard before. I still showed them when it comes to infertility, when it comes to health, when it comes to the immune system, a perspective that they don't see. Because the majority of people, even if they're medical and more natural, it's still a different perspective than what I put out 23 years ago. It's dramatically different, and I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the fact that we as a company, with all the practitioners, with all the people, with all the staff, that we come from such a different perspective that allows us to have a stage to where all of a sudden people that do have great influence like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., like Andrew Wakefield, like Del Brichie, like all these people that call me up and say, can you be on our show? Can you share your perspective? And the great difference, which really I'm very proud of, is the fact that we've actually created something called the Wellness Way Clinics. That this is not just a show. This is a show and actually information for people that may be seeing a clinic or may not see a clinic that way. But we get to put everything today in practice that a lot of people do not. A lot of people, once again, are not in the trenches every day with sick people. We are. So that's one thing I love about what I call our culture, is the fact that there's a doc in Montana, there's a doc in Pensacola, Florida, there's a doc in California, there's a practitioner in Boston, there's in everywhere. And by going to thewellnessway.com, you can see all of our practitioners everywhere. You can see what they're doing. You may have a clinic. You may have a place in your backyard that can do it. So now we're putting out great information that then we have the opportunity to be on documentaries. We have an opportunity to be interviewed on some people who have a lot of influence out there when it comes just to the public. And I will continue for next 23 years, if not longer. It's whenever God decides to take me home, that we will continue to put this information out there for everybody's benefit, so you can take control and do your choices of what you want to do with your health. And I really think I'm going to meet with our team and talk about a documentary talking about what is health. But if you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you, go to CHD TV. And here it is. It's called Infertility, A Diabolical Agenda. It's a new documentary, as you can see down below. Andrew Wakefield, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Children's Health Defense. They put together this. I'm telling you right now, be careful when you watch it. Be careful when you watch it. You'll get downright angry because had some of the staff kind of watch my highlights and then watch the documentary that way. And people think that stuff like this doesn't happen. It's just hidden. It's just suppressed. And it's very easy to see that, once again, they've been trying to create infertility in some people. And by watching it, it will blow your mind away. You'll be very upset out there. And that's why, and including organizations like the WHO who are involved. That's why when people say, Doc, you never trust CDC. Yeah, if you know their history. Yeah, Doc, you never trust WHO. Yes, you know your history. Well, they've changed. Actually, they have changed. They've gotten worse. They've gotten a lot worse. A lot worse. The last 2 years have proven to you how worse they have gotten. So that's why when people say, well, the CDC recommends. I don't care what they recommend. I don't care what they recommend at all. See, I love how they do this. I love how they say, well, there are good scientists at the CDC. No, there's not. No, there's not. Absolutely not. There's good people at WHO. No, there is not. Because here's what happens. Here's my point. If you're a scientist and you know something bad is going on there and you stay silent because you're worried about a job, you are not good. That's a bold statement. Do you understand? That's a bold statement. You are not good. Because the information that they're going to put out that manipulates data, guess what happens is you are just as responsible just because you're not the one in control of it. You can speak out. Now, it's quite amazing. You'd be surprised, and this is the one thing why you need to fight politically, is do you understand that Pfizer's even trying to lobby to pass laws that whistleblowers are actually held accountable? Which is disgusting, because I said, they're trying to suppress whistleblowers. And when I be accountable, it's like if you whistleblow, you can prosecute it, even though if it's truth. That's kind of sad. Because you know why? People do need to speak the truth. I would love, it's funny part where people say, well, Doc, what if they investigated your company? Good, investigate it. Let's look at our products, everything we claim they are. Let's look at these things, everything. Cool. Look at the labs, everything we talk about. Cool. Show up. I'll give you a tour. Do you know what I'm saying? Talk to our docs. You know what I'm saying? We train on physiology, biochemistry. We're very research. We're this. You can see our manufacturing. You can see everything we do there. Cool. I love that. I would love for 20, or what's that, 2020? What's that TV show? Yeah, no, whatever the investigative show is, 2020. Yeah, I was saying, I'm like, cool, come, I'll give you a tour. Take you to the warehouse, take you to manufacturing, show the labs, meet with them. You know what I'm saying? And it's really funny, when I meet with the lab companies, when I meet with the supplement companies that we manufacture stuff with and everything, I talk about quality. I talk about having the best data. I talk about saying, listen, I will not use you if there's somebody better than you that will give us the best idea for the patients to guide them. You think I'm joking? That's one thing. I have no ties to them. That's what people say, Doc, who's your show sponsored by? Me. It's sponsored by me. Do you know why? Because I want to be able to actually have control of everything I say and do. Because you know why? Because then I can give you information. You can do it. So it's not going to be sponsored by this company or this company. Because if I don't like what they're doing, I'm going to tell them I don't like what they're doing. You know, that's the part that we can do, and then people can weed through what they want to weed through. So the cool thing about this is thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Wakefield and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and stuff to be part of it. Thank you for the opportunities that are coming like crazy. Thank you for all of you people that have reached out recently, oh my goodness, for emails and things like that, but all the amount of podcasts. So I might not be traveling a lot, but boy, I got a lot of podcasts and stuff. I enjoy being on your podcast. Thank you for the massive requests and stuff, and some we cannot do because we are booked here on certain times. But the idea is this, thank you for all the great opportunities for us to be able to get our message out there. And that's why I tell people, what makes us so different is we are a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. We are in the trenches every day. We are not just here giving information. We're taking this information and applying it to people's everyday lives, and people are seeing the wonderful benefits from it. And we'll continue to say the same things, and more opportunities will come to our company, which is why, one of the reasons why I'm taking some time off from speaking and why the Hormone Connection Seminar has been retired, because there's other things that we are doing that are going to bring our message not only to local areas when I go and speak and travel, but things that are going to get pretty big over the next couple of years. It's quite interesting. You may see this face on places you never saw this face on. And I'm excited about it. You may see that Wellness Way brand symbol in places you may be walking through New York City, or you may see it on a big billboard. You may actually see me on some pretty influential shows and things like that. You may see our practitioners and everybody doing great things and having that Wellness Way brand right there. So I'm excited, and I thank every one of you guys that have watched the Hormone Connection Seminar from the bottom of my heart. You guys coming there, it's a part of my life I will never forget. Traveling to the biggest cities, to the smallest towns, speaking to as many as thousands of people, to speaking to as many as 3 at a Hormone Connection Seminar. Yes, I've done a seminar for 3 people, and I've done a seminar for thousands of people. See, I didn't care how many people were there. All I cared about if there was 3 people or if there was thousands that I spoke to their heart that could make their life and their health better, because all I wanted to do from a Hormone Connection Seminar to a podcast to the ADP show is get you to think differently so you can have a different perspective. That being said, guys, all of you fathers tomorrow, I honor you. I thank you. Thank you for being a real man, because you watch this show, I know you're a real man, because I push men to be men. I push men to be testosterone-driven monsters, just controlled. Do you understand? As Jordan Peterson would say, who is a great clinical psychologist, if you haven't seen Jordan Peterson. He's one individual that I would love to meet. I'd love to have him on the show itself, which we probably will, and stuff. But for all you fathers, you know, you guys have an amazing Father's Day, and having 4 beautiful daughters is absolutely incredible. I love being a dad. I love actually spending time with them, and I love watching them grow, even in some of the crazy world things that we have today from some of the stuff people are doing. For the rest of you guys, that you guys have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for always sharing different perspective. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us in today as we started the things there. Thank you, Travis, for jumping on, doing an absolutely wonderful job with us. Thank you for our consistent media team, from Brandon to Kyle to Joshua to our marketing people, from Crystal to everybody. Thank you for all the people and all you practitioners and everything in the Wellness Way company that do absolutely amazing things every day. I wish I could say every one of your names, because you're near and dear to my heart, because all of this happens because of us we are across the world. God bless you guys. Have a great Father's Day weekend. Hey, thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a single video.